Hello and welcome to my Mythic Jadefire Masters tank guide, and again this is going to be from a Brewmaster's point of view. However, most of the things that I will be talking about in this guide will be relevant for all tanks. So getting straight into it then, the Jadefire Masters is the third boss in the Battle of Tazara Law Raid, and in my opinion it is one of the easier fights in Mythic. I actually think it's easier than Grong, even though it might technically be more mechanically complicated to a certain extent. The fight itself just feels generally easier than Grong, less healing intensive, and I generally found that this was easier and our guild cleared it a lot quicker than we got through Grong. But generally speaking, it's a fairly easy fight, so hopefully you should progress through this fairly quickly. It's very similar to the heroic counterpart. You have the two bosses that you are going to be wanting to fight, and again you are going to want to nuke that monk down as fast as possible so you have less mini games to contend with throughout. You can quite easily see the monk die with the mage still around 60% health, and that'll be fine. You should be able to get it down no problem, and generally speaking, if you kill the monk with most of the raid still alive, you'll find that you will get this boss down. So we'll go through the video and I'll talk about any differences between heroic and mythic as I go, and I'll stop and start the video as is necessary. So as same with heroic, what you want to do is get one tank taking the mage and you want to get one tank on the monk. Now at first we tried swapping when these stacks were quite high, but we found it wasn't really working for us. And if you swap at 7 stacks, then it lines up nicely with the minigame, and as soon as we started swapping at 7 stacks, we got this boss down a couple of pulls afterwards. So as you can see there, the other tank took the mage off me because I got up to 8 stacks. We then swapped and you stack both bosses on top of each other. So here is the minigame. Now this is the first difference with this fight compared to the heroic version. 18 players will be taken and they will go up in the sky and they will have to complete the minigame. One tank and one healer is always left down. So dependent on who's tanking the mage at the time, they will stay down, as will one random healer. Everyone else goes up, and it is down to everyone to make sure they complete the minigame on themselves so that there are no deaths. If DPS are not used to this, then it can be quite tricky and it'll take you a few goes for people to get it right. But generally what I find to be quite easy is if you lift your camera quite high so you're looking down and keep it as close so you can only see yourself, it's a lot easier. The other thing to remember is the images will always appear in the same order. So as you can see, blue, green, red, green, blue. Now they will always appear in that order. Blue, green, red, green, blue, sorry. Blue, green, red, green, blue. If you just remember that, turn your character to face those images so that they pass straight through you. You will make it quite easy. And as you can see, we had a couple of people that die there and we needed to use a combat res. Once you go down, you'll probably find that you'll need to take the mage back off the other tank. Stack them up, and then what will happen is just here, you can't really see him because of the AoE fest that's going on, is the Spirit of Zwen will spawn, and you'll get more than these on Mythic than you do previously. What we found was that everybody stacks on top of the bosses. You can then use your stuns and you can AoE and kill these quickly. The quicker they go down, the better. As the fight progresses then, the living bombs will spawn. What we did as a raid was we marked this one as a skull, the one just in the top left corner as a cross, and then the one in the top right corner we had as triangle, and we always went on the skull first and then moved across to the cross. And the reason why we did this was because when you go up for the minigame, you will land next to that third living bomb, so it wasn't as far to run. When the living bombs come up, the mage will teleport away, blink away, and it will start to cast Pyroblast. And as you can see as well, these magma traps spawn as well. What you want to try and do is ensure that these traps spawn before you all run into the living bomb. As soon as you go into the living bomb, you'll be out of a line of sight for your healer. So everybody, -1 DPS was running into the living bombs, and then we had one DPS, which was a hunter pretty much, would stay outside. They would use their turtle shell to get rid of these traps just here, and then they would DPS the mage down and interrupt them before moving back into the living bomb with the rest of us. You want to get these living bombs down as quickly as possible. As you can see, I was unsure whether to go back out to make sure that I've still got aggro on this mage. But generally speaking, you stay inside so you can keep tanking the mage. As you can see, all the 18 people have gone up into the sky. And because I had aggro on the mage, I stayed down and I had one healer with me. Once everybody comes back down, you want to move to the third living bomb, move inside so you can get healed and nuke that living bomb down. That for me is the most difficult part of the fight. As soon as you get that down consistently without many deaths, you'll probably find that you're going to get this boss down. Keep an eye out for the traps on the floor and just move the boss away from them. Again, keep your eye out for the tigers, stack on top of each other so that you can nuke them down as quickly as possible. The fight is pretty much the same as Heroic from this point on, for one or two differences. So here you can see that the Ring of Pieces have appeared and you all need to get to the other end. Now with Mythic, what you need to do is you need to pick up 4 orbs. You don't necessarily need to pick up all of them. We did. You need to pick up the 4 orbs and you need to get them to the other end and use them on the barrier. That will then allow you to nuke the barrier and get it down. What I did as a monk is, I don't know if you can see it just here, in fact I can go back on my video, is the orbs will always spawn in the same place. So as a monk, what I was doing was coming to the spawn point and I would pop my Transcendence just here. So you saw it just there and I would leave it there for the fight, which meant when it came to the Ring of Peace trail and running around it, you could see me running around using the Warlock Gate, and then I would use my Transcendence to immediately be able to pick up the board. Now, for some reason, my Chi Torpedo would not let me go. It's a bit hit and miss, that is. The times before I did that, I just went straight over the top, but it allowed me to pick it up and just run up here. The other difference with this on Mythic compared to Heroic is there is going to be an Ox which will spawn right back where you started and will then start charging its way down, and you need to nuke this wall down before it gets to you. I think you're going to see it. Here it is, look, on my screen. If it gets to you, it will start trampling over you and it does massive damage and will typically wipe your raid. So you need to get that wall down. If you get to this point, GZ, you've probably got the boss down. It is exactly the same. Keep swapping your stacks at 7 and nuke that monk down as hard as you possibly can. As soon as you've got the monk down, that means there'll be no more mini games, and you will more than likely get this boss down. Keep your eyes peeled for the traps that will appear throughout the fight. What will happen is that the traps will start to spawn more frequently, and eventually you will get more and more of them and the room starts to disappear. But generally speaking, as long as you've got most people alive and your DPS is good, you will get the boss down fairly quickly. So as you can see here, they've started to appear and more of them will come along, and it is literally just a case of taunt swapping every 7 stacks to keep the damage as low as possible so the healers don't have to work overtime. That is pretty much it. In terms of Bloodlust, what we were doing was we were using it after the first minigame. We were finding that that was really helping us. As soon as we come down, we were using it. You could use it on the living bombs as well if you really wish. It's entirely up to you, but we found it best using when we came down from the mini strike. And like I say, it took us less than 20 pulls to get this down the first time. And yeah, overall, a really good fight. It's quite fun. It is a bit easy, but it's when you get to Opulence is when the skill level really jumps up, and that's currently where we're progressing now. We should hopefully get it down this week, so I should hopefully have a guide out very soon. So there you go. That is my guide on the Mythic Jadefire Masters. Let me know what you think of the video. Let me know what you think of the boss fight. Please leave us a like or a dislike and subscribe if you wish. And I will be putting out more videos over the coming weeks and months on patch 8.2 and the future. Thanks for watching.